This is the anxious person, the one who's always waiting on the phone calls, making bids for attention, looking to see if the avoidant person, the one with the bracelets, is going to respond. Okay, this is you two in a relationship, and the reason you guys are together is because these two opposites attract. I used to be anxious, I'm now secure. How do you resolve the situation if you're in a relationship? You guys are uncomfortable because you're leaning like this. This is you, anxious, leaning towards the avoidant person because you constantly want more reassurance, you want attention, you want communication, you want them to respond to your messages. You're writing the long text messages. You're saying, oh, why didn't they look at me? Why didn't they, because you're starved. You're starved emotionally, yeah? Because somebody in your childhood didn't give you that emotion back, and now you want it from this person because they remind you of the person who didn't give it to them. This person, they were engulfed by someone in their childhood, or they weren't attended to at all, so they've learned how to survive by themselves. So they were very much engulfed, berated, told what to do, or they just learned how to survive by themselves. Anyway, when they feel this leaning in energy, they feel suffocated and they lean out. Now, we always make this person feel like the bad guy, like they're leaning out, they're not responding, they should always respond to our bids for affection. We think that we're going to lean in, hey, what are you doing? How was your day? And they're going to lean back. But it's really hard to lean into someone who's like this, hi, how are you? Yeah, for that person especially. The way you heal it is either, and this is the hardest way, for the avoidant who's quite comfortable, leaning out, running away, to lean in, and that will soothe the anxious person enough for them to stand up straight finally. Or, and this is what I advise you do, because you're the one who is more in pain in the situation, because you're the one who's making these bids that are being ignored. If you truly want to be with this person, you need to, one morning, wake up, pull up your socks, and become secure. Oh, how do you become secure? Look up traits of a secure person and act.
So first of all, I just want to say that this has nothing to do with attachment styles. It's a very different framework. Attachment styles comes down to the very first couple of years, 2 or 3 years of your childhood, and whether that your primary caregiver was there or not, that creates your attachment style. Sometimes, in life as adults, you can get anxious in certain situations, and that's normal. That's okay. That's normal. And sometimes you can be avoidant. That's normal. That doesn't mean that you have an avoidant attachment style or anxious attachment style. So let's separate these two ideas. Yeah, and let's talk about what she's referring to. So when someone's really anxious, for example, the thing is, when you're anxious, guess what? You're looking to take value, looking to take reassurance, approval, validation, all these things. And a lot of the times when you're anxious, you don't create the space to listen to anyone else. So the other person doesn't feel like they're listened to. The other person doesn't feel like you're there for their feelings. You're only there to take for yourself, and that's why it makes people run away. In fact, I would say that when you're that anxious, you don't even attract avoidant. You actually make people avoid it, because you make people avoid you by wanting to take all the time. Yeah, it's a form of value taking. It's no different to those guys sitting around at 2 a.m. at bars looking for women to take home. Just it's trying to extract value from women. They're not really there to add any value. They're just looking for the lowest hanging fruit. It's the same thing. You're trying to take value, and that's what makes people go the other way.
I'm starting to see in the online world that there is a new trend, or the use of the word avoidant, secure, and anxious has become mainstream in a way that now people are just referring to avoidant behavior as avoidant, and secure people as just calm people, and then anxious people as actions coming from anxiety. I just want to make sure that the people who are watching don't get confused with anxious attachment style or secure attachment style or avoidant attachment style with avoidant behavior, anxiety, which any attachment style can have in any kind of minute situation. David and I have always spoken about avoidant and anxious in the context of the attachment styles. However, I think that the way the world is now is that there's two ways to look at it. There's a new framework. It's literally avoidant behavior.
Yeah, exactly. So if you listen to this, separate the two ideas. Yeah. The attachment style, keep it pure as it is, because there's a lot of value in understanding that particular framework. But everything else, it's just avoidant behavior, anxious behavior, has nothing to do with your attachment style. I mean, Bilby is turning in his grave if he saw this.
Bilby?
Bilby! Bilby's a cute little animal.
An Australian animal, a marsupial.
Bilby. He's turning in his grave right now.
Love you.
I'm like, yeah, Bilby, that's the word. Bilby. I've even got a picture of him on my desktop, and I still call him Bilby. Getting old. So yeah, the whole point here is if you keep trying to take value people are going to move away from you. They're not avoidant, they're just avoiding you.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. So just understand that it might actually just be commitment resistance that's natural for anyone, man or woman, avoidant woman, doesn't matter, who is feeling like their cup is not being filled back up again by you. In fact, it's constant taking because you have a lot of fears within your body. And you know, I've been there myself, so don't judge yourself for it, but just be aware that our fears, and these fears show up a lot in the beginning of the relationships, the first several months or even a couple of years, where the man and the woman, they're trying to bridge the gap created by their opposing reproductive agendas. That can send some women wild, even if they are not actually anxiously attached. It can create like so much confusion that they just become hyper-focused for a while. There is a mechanism whereby when a man and woman come together, it can create anxiety, even in
men as well, of
some
course.
secure people, because honestly, it is a risk.
Yeah.
It is a risk. Okay, but it's not the same as when two people come together and they have intimacy together, emotional intimacy I'm specifically talking about here, but it can be the other kind of intimacy as well, that if you have multiple attempts at trying to create an intimate moment, you try to reach someone, you try to be playful, you try to get them to bounce back at you, attune back to you and create a flow, and you constantly see them instantly pushing you away multiple times during these attempts at intimacy over, say, weeks or months, then maybe you can consider that they're avoidant, like actually having avoidant attachment style.
Yeah, that's a much harder thing to deal with, obviously, avoidant attachment style. And like she said, she went from anxious to secure. If you're truly, like, let's talk about the attachment style framework. If you're truly anxiously attached, it is so hard to move to secure.
I agree. I began as a anxiously attached person, and I've said multiple times that I'm probably about 70% healed of that, and I've been through a lot trying to calibrate, like, what the heck, why am I worried about him cheating on me? Why, you know, this is in the initial years, but not just worried, but like hyper focused on being cheated on, like because it's my nervous system.
It goes from 0 to 100 very quick.
Yeah.
That's the typical sign of someone who's anxiously attached, and you
Yeah.
go from 0 to 100 in every situation. That's your nervous system. Whereas, you know, you can have some anxiety. That doesn't mean you're anxiously attached. So we need to understand the distinction, because in order to help yourself heal and help yourself transform to the next version of you, you need to have these distinctions. You need to understand what is actually the framework of anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, versus the more common, popular online talk of anxious, secure, etc.
Yeah, so what we were trying to say about if you're actually anxiously attached, it's extremely hard to heal. It's not impossible, but it takes, just think about all the lost nurturing you have in your initial 2 years. How much effort do you think it's going to take to actually go back in time and give yourself back that nurturing to make your nervous system secure? I'm not saying it's impossible. I would never say that. But it's extremely hard to actually heal.
It takes a lot of resources, yes.
I'm not saying she hasn't fully healed it. I'm just saying for the general population.
I don't think she's anxious at all.
Yeah, she doesn't look anxious.
No, doesn't look anxious.
Well,
You know-
how could we tell though? We're not intimate with her.
No, because you can tell when, you know, I've dealt with anxious attachment styles. Yeah, you can tell. You can tell by how they focus on the camera. You can tell. And she was saying, you know, avoiding people. Okay, if someone's truly avoidantly attached, not just avoidant, but avoidantly attached, there is not going to be a relationship with them whatsoever. My mother is avoidantly attached. I can honestly say I don't ever felt like I was loved by her, ever. And she's avoidant. I mean, that's the extent, and she's my mother, right? So if you're in a relationship with someone who's actually avoidant, there's not going to be a
But luckily,
relationship.
your grandparents and your father, who
Yeah,
you
she
grew
didn't
up
raise me.
with,
She didn't raise me.
thank God.
Thank God.
For
Thank
anyone
God.
who's thinking he's some psychopath.
Could have turned out differently. But yeah, so yeah, if you're with someone who's actually avoidantly attached, there's not going to be a future.
You're not going to be with them.
Yeah, you might be together, but it's not a relationship.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to form that relationship. They wouldn't trust anything. They wouldn't trust the tree growing in the grass patchy over there. Grass patchy?
Yeah, because they don't believe in roots.
Yeah, they don't
They don't have roots,
They don't
right?
have roots,
They were never
yeah.
given roots.
That's right. They were never given roots. Yeah. Peace.